Dear students, welcome to lecture 16 in distributed systems. Today's topic is event ordering. In the previous lecture, you have learned about the clock synchronization, right? There we have seen the synchronization issues, clock synchronization issues, what are the different algorithms we use for clock synchronization. So, in coming to event ordering topic, in 1978, Lamport observed that the applications which are running in distributed systems, most of the applications do not need clock synchronization. Means it is not necessary to keep the clocks of all the nodes in a distributed system synchronized. So, what he observed is it is enough if we order the events in a manner that it is consistent with an observed behavior. So, as the synchronization is inexpensive and it is not a ordinary thing to synchronize all the clocks in a distributed system. So, Lamport declared that it is sufficient to ensure all the events which are occurring in a distributed system should be ordered. Okay. So, for partial ordering of events, one new relation was defined by Lamport and it is called happened before relation. We will see what is meant by happened before relation in few minutes. And then he also introduced the concept of logical clocks for the ordering of events. How to order the events means the concept of logical clocks will helpful, and all these ordering of events is based on the happened before relation. Okay, so without synchronization of the clocks, Lamport defined a new relation called happened before relation and the concept of logical clocks. So at last he gave a distributed algorithm of partial ordering to make it consistent to total ordering of all the events in the distributed system. Okay. Overall about this slide is it is not necessary to keep the clocks in a synchronized way. So what we will do means as per Lamport we will order the events which occur in the distributed system. How he will order the events means he will follow the logical clocks and happened before relation. Now we will see what is meant by happened before relation. So it is denoted by this arrow mark. This relation on a set of events is satisfying all these three conditions. Means if we want to say that A implies B means happened before relation exists on a set of events, then both the process should satisfy these following conditions. Those three are if A and B are events, means A is one event, say for example debiting of money, B is another event, crediting of money. In the same process, okay, and A occurs before B, right? if we want to credit to somebody, it will debit from our bank first of all. Like that you think it is the same process and A occurs before B, then we say that A implies B. Okay, next, happened before relation. Before B, A is happened. So there is a happened before relation. If A is the event of sending a message by one process and B is the recipient of the same message by another process, means A is sending the message. This process is different from the B process. In such a case, we say that A implies B, and this condition will be called as law of causality, as the receiver cannot receive a message until sender sends it, right? So, the time, whatever time it takes to propagate the message, means to transfer the message from sender to receiver, is always positive. We will wait in a, the time is positive. And the third one is, if A is happened before B and B is happened before C, then we say that A is happened before C. This is what the happened before transitive relation. Means out of these three events, A is happened before B and C. Okay, if these are the three conditions in happened before relation. Hope you got this point. So, see here, in terms of happened before relation, two events A and B are said to be concurrent. You all know that concurrent means happening at the same time. Means both A and B are happening at the same time, and if they are not related by the happened before relation. Okay, that is A implies B nor B implies A is true. Why? Because they are happening at the same time and they are not related. So, neither A implies B nor B implies A is true. Why? Because both are of different events and they are not depending on the happened before relation. So, we will say when the happened before relation is sometimes called as the relation of causal ordering, means two events are concurrent if neither can causally affect the other. Here, both events are concurrent. No event is causally affecting the other. So, it is called as causal ordering. See here, in space-time diagram, which is shown here, it is used to illustrate the concepts of happened before relation and concurrent events. So, by seeing this space-time diagram, we can say about what event happened before and the happened before relation between the events and concurrent events. So, see here in this diagram, all the vertical lines represents or it denotes each process. It denotes the process. See here, process P1 is one vertical line, P2 vertical line, P3 is vertical line. And each dot you are able to see here, one dot at E10, E11, E12, E13. So each dot on vertical line denotes an event in the corresponding process. So under P1, what are the events? E10, E11, E12 and E13 are the events. And for P2, the events occurred are E20, E21, 22, 23 and 24. Like that, this space-time diagram will help to find the events happened before events and the concurrent events. And this wavy line is there, no, that is denoting the message transfer from one process to another process, and it also represented with help of arrow, so that we can say that E11 process sending message to E23. Like that, the direction of the arrow will represent the message transfer between the process. That is represented with help of wavy line. So from this time diagram, space-time diagram, we can see that the two events A and B are happening, and they are true if and only if there is a path between A to B. If there is no path between A to B, we can say that they are concurrent and they are not having the happened before relation. See here the same diagram. I am considering this example of some events which are related by the happened before relation. They are E10 is happened before E11, E20 is happened before E24, E11 is happened before E23. That's why E11 is happened before E23. E21 is happened before E13, right? It is the before, it is equivalent to E11. E21 is happened before happening E13. Like that, you can check here. E30 is happened before E24. Check this also. E30 is happened before E24. E24 is here. E30 is equivalent to E20 section. Like that, the E30 is happened before E24. So E30, since you see here, E30 sends message to E22, E22 is sending message to E24, like that. So these are some of the happened before relations. See, now we will check about the two events which are concurrent. The examples are concurrent events E12 and E20. E12 and E20 are concurrent events. E21 and E30 are concurrent events, means they will happen at the same time. E12 and E32, E13 and E22. So all these we can consider as the concurrent events. So another concept proposed by Lamport is logical clocks concept. So this logical clocks concept is, we have to define a happened before relation, means we need to determine which event happened before other event. Say for example, to determine event A happened before an event B, how we will generally tell that this event happened before the other, means via using common clock or with the help of synchronized clocks. Okay, you logged in before other, like that how we will tell, means with the help of our watch. Like that, how we can determine which event happened before another event means via clocks. And we have seen that neither of the approach, that is both the common clock or perfectly synchronized clocks in a distributed system is not available. So, to define a happened before relation in distributed system without using the globally synchronized physical clocks, we will go with the concept of the solution provided by Lamport. So he introduced the concept of logical clocks. This logical clocks concept is nothing but all the events are associated with a timestamp. So whatever the events happened in each system, each events are related to each other by the happened before relation can be properly ordered in a sequence. One by one we can order the events. So for that purpose, for example, there is a process Pi and it is having the clock Ci which is associated with it is Ci of A. What is A here means any event A is in that process Pi. So the clock of each process is called as the logical clock as there is no assumption is made between the relation of these numbers to physical time. So with each process having its own clock, the total entire system of clocks are represented by the function C and it assigns to any event B means then here like this C of B is equal to Cj of B where B is an event like here A is an event and it is in the process of Pj. It is in the process of Pi like that B is an event in the process of Pj, P2, P1, P3 like that process of Pj. So, the logical clocks of a system can be considered to be correct if the events of the system are related to each other by happened before relation. Means both the events, out of both the events, one should happen before and it should be ordered in such a manner. Like that, timestamps which are assigned to that events of the system by the system logical clocks will satisfy the clock condition. That is, for any two events A and B, this is happened before relation between A and B. If A implies B, then C of A is less than the C of B, right? Why? Because it is happening at 10:40 and it is happening at 10:41 means always C of A is less than C of B. Why? Because A is happened before B. Okay. So the clock time of A is less than the C of B. And next, how to implement these logical clocks means these are the following conditions to be satisfied and they are if A and B are two events within the same process. See here we are taking only one process Pi. I can be 1, 2, 3 and so on whatever the process might be. But A and B should be of the same process. If I consider P1 process, A and B are the two events of the same process. Then means A occurs before B, then we say that Ci of A is less than Ci of B. Clock of A is less than clock of B, which we have dealt with now itself. And the condition 2 is if A is sending the message by process P1 Pi, here we assumed that P1 and B is the receipt of that message by the process Pj. This condition is same as the condition in happened before relation if you observe. So B is the recipient, A is sender of the message. Then in such a case also we say that Ci of A is less than the Cj of B. Okay. In addition to these two conditions, and these two should satisfy in order to meet the clock condition. The following condition, that is condition 3, is necessary for the correct functioning of the system. That is, clock Ci is associated with Pi and it should always goes forward. It should never go backward. We have already discussed that no clock should go in a anti-clockwise. It should go in a clockwise. It should not never go backward. So the corrections to the time of logical clock must always be made by adding a positive value. We should not add a negative value. We should not subtract any value. So for implementing a set of logical clocks must satisfy these C1, C2 and C3 conditions. The algorithm which was proposed by Lamport will follow these implementation rules. Following these three conditions, if these three conditions are satisfied with these implementation rules, each process Pi increments Ci between any two successive events, means two successive events, one after another. That is condition implementation rule 1. And implementation rule 2 is, if any event, say for example A is sending message to M by the process Pi, then it contains the timestamp that time M, message M, means that particular message time is equal to Ci of clock time of A. That clock time is what about Pi process. And upon receiving the message M, it is receiving by Pj process and it sets Cj, clock time Cj, means of that process clock time Cj is greater than or equal to the present value of this Tm. Say for example this message is received at 10:45, then the clock time of particular node running in Pj process will be greater, is equal to Tm time, that is 10:45, or present value it is at least 10:46, like that value will be greater than that Tm value 10:48, 10:49, like that. It will put the timestamp as T1. Why? Because the transaction time between the transfer of the message from Pi to Pj. So the clock time will represent the greater time value than the timestamp of this process. If what rule 1 will ensure means, this implementation rule will ensure that C1 is satisfied. What is C1? That Ci of A is less than Ci of B. As A is happened before, B is happened next, this value should be greater than this. So for that purpose only we are having this incrementing option between two successive events. And IR2 means implementation rule 2 ensures that condition C2 is satisfied. What is condition C2? That Ci of A is less than Cj of B. Here it is of same process, so Ci of A, Ci of B. But here there are two processes and A is sending message, B is receiving. So the time of B is greater than A. Or you can think of vice versa, like A is less than the B, clock time of B. So like that, the rule, IR2 rule, we have already said that the present value it will be greater than the Tm value. Like that, IR2 ensures the condition C2 is satisfied. If both IR1 and IR2 are satisfied, then we can also say that this C3 is satisfied. Means it goes always forward direction. So by implementing these two simple implementation rules IR1 and IR2, we can guarantee a correct system of logical clocks. How we can say that the implementation of logical clocks means by using counters. See here we will see one example of implementation of logical clocks by using counters. So we will see in figure 6.4, that is this one. Two processes P1 and P2. Here we have discussed that this vertical line represents P1 and here another process P2. The time is on y-axis. We are implementing via using counters. Both the process P1 and P2 will have counters C1 and C2 respectively. Means for P1 process we have C1 counter and for P2 process we have C2 counter. These two counters act as a logical clocks. So at first C1 counter is initialized to 0 and C2 is also initialized to 0. Okay, now the values of C1 and C2 are 0. When the process will increment the counter values means it increments the value by 1 whenever an event occurs in that process. Means if in P1 process if there is some event happened, then C1 value will become 1. Okay. If the event is sending of messages means the events E4 and E14. See here sending of messages. Wavy line will represent sending of messages. I have already told this. E4 to E13. This one is sending of messages. So the counter value is incremented here. C1 0, event 1 happened, incremented by 1, E2, E3, E4. The counter value is 4. Why? Because already 4 events are happened. Like that, the process includes this incremented value of the counter in the message. What the counter, this count even E04 is having the timestamp of 4, like that the counter value is 4. So, if the event is receiving of a message means see here E13 and E8 are receiving messages because arrow is this side. So E4 to E13 process P2 is in event 13 is receiving the message. In case of this receiving messages, what it will do means it will take the counter value and a check is made to see if the incremented counter value is less than or equal to the timestamp of the received value. If it is less than that value, it will increment the counter in a correct manner and it adds 1 plus to the timestamp received in the message. Say for example, here in the received message the timestamp is 4, but here the counter C2, process counter is C2. C2 is having 3. 3 is less than the timestamp 4. So what it will correct that time to 5. C2 is equal to 5. The counter value is changed. It is corrected to 5. Why? Because it is having the less value than the timestamp. So the counter value is corrected and it is set to 1 plus of the timestamp. 1 plus of the timestamp is 5. So as in the event 13 we are seeing event 13 C2 counter value is equal to 5. 1 plus E4 is happened at counter value 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So C2 is incremented at 5. If not, means if the both are equal, if the value is correct, then the counter value is left as it is. See here in E8. E8, the timestamp is 6. It is equal to the timestamp sending by the process P2, counter is 6. So it will keep it C1 is equal to the event 8, like that. And next is, we can also implement the logical clocks by using physical clocks. This is shown in figure 6.5, that is this one. Means here instead of counters, we will use physical clocks. Each process will have physical clock and each clock will run at a constant rate. So the rates of these two different clocks are different. Physical clocks will always differ. So for example, when the physical clock of P1 process has 10 ticks, P2 process has only 8 ticks. So here the timestamp is changing or updating it as 60. E4 event, the clock time is 60, timestamp is equal to 60. Here the value is only 56. So it updates its physical clock time to 61. So physical clock times after corrections. If no corrections were made, this one. So here the timestamp is 60 and it is changed or modified to 61. This one is an illustration of one implementation of logical clocks by using physical clocks. So to satisfy the condition C1 which we have discussed, that Ti of A is less than Ti of B, only requirement is that physical clock of a process must have at least one tick between the two events. So computer clocks are already designed with this step. And to satisfy C2 condition, while implementing the logical clocks through physical, message sending events. See here E4 and E14. E4 and E14 are sending the messages. Where there is a waveline, there is a sending of messages between the process. So here a check is made if the current time in the receiver's clock is less than. This one I have already told. As E13 is having the less value than the timestamp, it adds 1 plus to the event and it saves that clock, like that. If not, it receiver's clock is left as it is. See here, we fast forwarded in E13, but here it is not done in E8. It is as it is, like 120. As the timestamp is 85, the greater value is only existing, so E8 is left as it is. And the last one in this topic is total ordering of events. So clocks and condition can be used to order the events, and that ordering of events is based on the happened before relationship among the events. But here, for example, think of that with this event ordering scheme, two events which are not related may happen by the happened before relation may have the same timestamps. Means A and B are the two events happening at the same time in the process P1 and P2, and both the process exactly shows the time as 100. Means both events will have a timestamp of 100, right? In P1 and A happened, P2 A happened at B happened at the same time. The time is 100. Means A timestamp is 100, B timestamp is 100. So both events are having the same timestamps. In such a case, how we can decide that which event happened before the other? Like that, in such a situation, we can't say about the order of the two events. So what this total ordering of events will do means, this total ordering on the set of system events will provide with an additional requirement, that is, no two events ever occur at exactly the same time. So Lamport, to fulfill this event, Lamport proposed the use of an arbitrary total ordering of the process. What it means, if for instance, for example, if there is any situation which is described here that both of the events are happened at the same time, in such a case we will add the timestamps associated with events A and B, that is 100.001 and 100.002 respectively. Means A is having this value and B is having 100.002. What these 001 and 002 are? The process identity numbers. So to solve this problem, Lamport proposed these identity numbers attached with the timestamp, so that we can think that we can identify the number of processes happening at the same time or concurrent time, having the same timestamps. P1 process is having the identity number as 001. Means P1 and P2 is happened at the same time 100 only, but to know what are the events from which process we are adding identify numbers. So using this method we can know and we can assign a unique timestamp to each event in a distributed system, and to provide a total ordering of all the events in the system. This is the approach followed by Lamport. Okay, I hope you understand this. 001 is nothing but the process identity number of event A, and this one is the process identity of P2. Both can happen at the same time, but with the two same timestamps, the process will not be there. It should not be there for two process with the same timestamp. So it is the solution to provide the identity numbers for the events, so that we can order the total events in the system. So the topics covered in this lecture are event ordering. Under this we have seen happened before relation, what is the logical clocks concept, and how we can implement the logical clocks by using counters and physical clocks, and the last is total ordering of events. I hope you all understood this topic. Thank you.